Hi everyone, it's Marie here and I'm here with a process video for challenge 1 of the Peartree Cutfiles birthday celebration Pair It Up challenges that are running all month in the Peartree Cutfiles Facebook group to celebrate Peartree Cutfiles' first birthday. So this is challenge number 1, and challenge number 1 is to pair up all the challenges are pair it up challenges. Challenge 1 is to pair it up with a hidden element, which I'm going to do using the camera mini book cut file from the August Prescriptions box. You don't have to do it with this. You could do this challenge with just tucking a tag behind a photograph, having some sort of hidden element where you have to move something or pull something out. So like I say, having a tag tucked in, having another photo tucked in behind your main photograph on your layout, having an opening flap, you could do many things, but I decided I wanted to use this mini book on my on the layout itself. So what I've done is I've cut the mini album in white cardstock. I've then cut enough pieces out of patterned cardstock to put one on each of the pages, apart from the very back, because that's going to get stuck down. I've taken an extra photograph that I had and popped it inside the front of the camera that goes on the front of the mini book. So that's an extra little picture there. And I'm just putting some extra bits of different bits of cardstock to back that cut file. It's quite an easy one to back, and it's also really good because with the file itself, you get the camera, you get the backing for the camera, you get all the little page pieces to put onto the page. So the extra bits that I've stuck on the pages, the patterned paper, there is a template for that within the camera cut within the mini book cut file itself. So that works really well. I decided to get a little bit more faffy and back all of the buttons on the top of the camera separately. So I went with a darker green for that, and then I decided just to stick that down onto would you call that tartan? Is that tartan? I think it is. Oh no, I didn't. I put some vellum behind the flash before I did that, just to give an extra little bit of texture to that as well. So popping some glue and some double-sided sticky on there to stick it all together. And that's the front cover of my album, just trimming off a little bit of excess there, and that goes directly on the front. So more double-sided sticky and straight on to the front of my album. So there you can see I've got green on every inside, the very insides, and I've got the map paper on those outside pieces. Now I'm not matting my photographs. That's a deliberate decision because my mini book is going onto a layout. It's already going to be reasonably thick. I don't need to make it any thicker. If you wanted to make it even thinner, just cut the camera cut file out of a patterned paper to start with, and don't bother cutting it in white and then adding patterned paper on top of that, if that makes sense. So I just want to add the smallest little bits of embellishing to the file. I just want little bits on the photographs. I'm trying not to make it too bulky, but just want little bits on there. So there's lots of interest when you open it up and flip open all the different pages. Okay, so just putting some little phrases on there. So these are all photographs from the same day on our holiday. We visited the Glentrool Visitor Centre up in Scotland. And that was a family shot we had on the bridge, the main photograph on my layout, and then the smaller photographs are just from other parts of the day when we had a little wander, or we were sat having a picnic, and the photographs just I wanted to keep them all together because they were all about our great escape, and it really did feel like a great escape, having been locked down for so long and having not been anywhere really. So yeah, it was an absolutely amazing holiday. So I'm just popping the tiniest little dots of glue all over the back of my cut file and sticking it onto another piece of paper here. Now the collection I'm using is the Simple Stories Vintage Simple Great Escape, something like that. It's very complicated title of this collection, but it's the Simple Stories Great Escape. And I love this collection. It's just so woodlandy and so earthy, and it's all ferns and toadstools and dragonflies and butterflies and things. If you'd have asked me a year ago, I probably would have said, oh no, not the collection for me. But having seen a few layouts that people did with it, I saw one that Rebecca Birch did. I know Claire from the DT did a couple with this collection as well. I'm sure other people did also, but I saw a couple and I just thought, oh, I've got to give this one a try, and I absolutely love it. That's then made me buy kind of more in this sort of vintagey style, because I would have never said I was a vintage scrapbooker, but this collection and then the Simple Stories Vintage Coastal is also beautiful. And there's 2 new collections out as well from 49th and Market called Beached, I think, and Hike More, and is it Go Anywhere? They're vintagey collections. Oh, they're all absolutely stunning. Anyway, no affiliation there with any of those. I just love them. So I've cut all the way around the outside of my cut file now with my scissors, and I'm just now I've taken a craft knife and I've cut through any areas that I want to take out from the centre of letters, and then I use that cut to get my scissors in. I do find I do better cutting with scissors than I do with craft knives, so that's just my personal choice. Especially these little new scissors I've got. These are Tim Holtz, the mini snips. They're serrated on one edge and not on the other, and they work really well. So just popping through there and taking out. I've decided I wanted to do the backing of this all as one, simply because the patterns continue from one letter to another then, and there's a real nice sense of continuity, rather than doing them all separately, which would have looked fine, but rather than doing them all separately, I've got that kind of continuity. One of the ferns there is on the R and the E, and it's the same fern, and it looks really nice. So I like that. Quite pleased with how that's come together. Let's get rid of all the rubbish. I do like a tidy workspace. So my title's going to go here. I am going to put the middles of the letters in. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Today I'm going to put them in like those, and just popping them all in and getting rid of the very middles of the A. And that's where my little mini book is going to go, and my photograph is going to go just there as well. So now I'm going to play around with bits of pieces of leftover cardstock that I've got, and just mat this large photograph just to give it some little bit, give it a bit of texture. And that piece there that I've just tucked behind, as you can see, has got one of the camera insert cutouts, and it doesn't even matter that that's there, because I'm only going to have the edges of that sticking out. So that's a great way to use bits of cardstock that you have used for cut files, because you can just position it in such a way that you can't see that there's a great big hole in the back. So that's roughly how it's going to look. I'm happy with that, so let's use my tape and stick it down, and then loads of tape on the back of the camera. So I put normal tape, and then I put the really sticky stuff on there as well to make sure it stays there, and just quickly open it up and make sure it all works. Now, loads and loads of dimensional foam pads later, and my title will get stuck down. I did decide to use lots and lots of foam pads on this. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just stick them straight down. If I can't be bothered with my foam pads, then, stick them straight on. But I wanted the dimension on this one. So taking the time to peel them all off, stick them all on, it takes ages, and they stick to your fingers and they get everywhere. I think I was hoovering them up for about 3 days after this. But I'm really happy with how that's looking. I am generally, I would say, a white background scrapper. I will use a white background and put my little bits of pattern paper on top. But recently, the last few layouts I've made, I've used lots and lots of patterned, full patterned paper backgrounds, which is really nice. It's a really nice change. So I'm just going to position my title very carefully before I press it down. Happy with where that is, happy with how everything's going, tucking in those extra little bits of layers behind my photograph. And now I'm going to start playing with the ephemera. I already said the ephemera is just lots of wonderful creatures and butterflies and phrases, and everything just fits together. Beauty. I'm just so happy with this. So I've got some butterflies going in there. I've got ferns in there as well. I play around with practically everything, I think, and decide eventually which bits are going to go in. I think I go with that tag. A couple of those phrases do go on the photograph. and just play around with lots of different pieces until I find the ones that look right. And I love the idea there of the mushrooms growing out of the end of the E. I just thought that was like you would see in a forest. You might have a log on the ground in a forest, and you might have mushrooms growing out of it. That's kind of what that reminded me of, so they stay there. I couldn't get any more to work though, because tucking them in behind the photograph or behind the camera put them on an angle, and that basically meant then that they were sort of they weren't growing out of the ground, they were growing the wrong direction. It just didn't look quite right, so they didn't end up going on there. I did like the idea of having a butterfly on the front of the camera, so that definitely stays there. And again, just adding lots and lots of dimension, using loads of foam pads and bits of glue as well, sticking everything down, just to make sure there's lots of interest. So when you look at it and you see it from different angles, you get lots of different views of it. So a little bit of string now going in the end of that tab, and I'll curl the string round under the photograph and kind of fasten it down under one of the pieces of ephemera there. So some foam and some glue going on the back of these. I think I just used foam actually on the back of those pieces. And then I decide I do want to have a little tear at the top here. Now I take my this is the Tim Holtz mini stapler. Oh, they're fab. The staples are so tiny, they're really, really cute. And I then realised that I only had one left. So one side is stapled and the other side isn't, but never mind. We were away from home at this time when I was scrapbooking, so yeah, I didn't necessarily have everything to hand. I am using some of the new Peartree pieces, sorry about the wobble on the camera, some of the new Peartree pieces that released in August. We've got the viewfinders. I've cut one of them in half just because I wanted to tuck bits in different places, and why waste the whole thing tucking it in? So I cut it in half. If you cut down on the back and then snap, they do snap quite easily. I'm also using that etched word there together, a mixture of glossy accents and foam pads to stick that one down. And I think I've put a little camera in as well, next to the word escape, and then one of the little film strips just hiding underneath the corner of that photo. And then I had to squeeze in some of those gorgeous little butterflies. They're also a new release for August. And I love those little butterflies. I just wanted to tuck them in everywhere. So I did. I put 3 of those on in the end. And also just 1 or 2, what did I put? 1 or 2 of these little hearts, the little felt hearts. I think that is, it's Good to Be Green. I can't remember the name of that one. Good to Be Green? I really should know the names of them, but I come up with them and then I change my mind so often that I can never remember the names. Oh, then I pop a couple in the torn area at the top as well. So I'm really happy with how this is coming together. Of course it needs a few sequins. Everything needs sequins. So just popping a few of those all over just to give a little bit of sparkle. It was, I suppose you could the weather we had while we were on holiday was absolutely amazing. And it was very sparkly while we were up there. Now my camera did stop recording, unfortunately, just the very, very end, which was me splattering some white Liquitex acrylic ink all over the layout. So there's lots of close-ups here because it's showing you each part of the mini album opened up, and there's the whole thing open on the layout. Now, of course, that will only open when the layout is out of its page protector, but never mind. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I really hope you'll take part in this challenge. So again, this challenge is to include a hidden element, and the hidden element on mine are all those photographs hiding within the camera mini book. Head on over to the Peartree Cutfiles Facebook group for more details on this challenge, and check out the group every day this month in August from the 1st to the 20th for 20 challenges for our birthday crop. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I will see you again soon.